Welcome to The Road Reflected with Nicole Wakeland. Automotive from the lighter side. That means cars, but also cookies, coffee, and pie. Up first, what's Nicole behind the wheel of this week?
Okay, guys, I am in all electric vehicles this week. It's all electric all the time.
Buzz, buzz.
But I don't really think they buzz.
No, they can't really go vroom, vroom.
No. How do they, I don't know. What does the sound?
Hum, hum. They kind of hum. They remind me of the old Vipers, like in Battlestar. Like, that's what they sound like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So whatever they sound like.
Okay.
This week, the first car I have in my driveway was the 2023 Genesis Electrified GV70.
These are cool looking cars.
Yeah, the GV. Looks good. I like Genesis though. I really like this brand.
I know.
They're beautiful cars. So this is basically just the electric version of the existing GV70. It's a compact luxury SUV. It has an absolutely beautiful interior.
Monroney moment.
Okay, let's go over the facts and figures real quick. It has a 77.4 kilowatt battery, standard all-wheel drive with 2 electric motors, 429 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque, 236 miles of range, and it starts at $65,850.
That is a, there's a lot of horsepower when you get to those electrics. But so maybe not everybody knows because that's a lot of money, but also it's a Genesis, and maybe not everybody listening knows what a Genesis is.
Yes. So once upon a time, Hyundai had a vehicle that was a sedan that was called the Genesis, and it was sort of like the flagship of the Hyundai brand. A couple years back, they said, nope, we're going to make Genesis its own luxury brand. So much like you think like the Toyota has Lexus,
right,
and that's their fancy brand.
VW has Audi.
Honda has Acura.
Right.
Now Hyundai has Genesis.
Got it.
But they truly are luxury cars, and they're some of the prettiest cars out there. The design that they use, even things like the wheels. Gosh, the wheels on some of them are
I have to say, we just talked about, we had a G-Wagon for a little bit. And of course, there's nothing more lovely than driving around in a Mercedes, G-Wagon when the people those are the kind of vehicles you pull up at a red light and someone rolls their window down like, nice ride. People just, because it's just so baller to be in a G-Wagon. But I got to say, the G-Wagon didn't feel like as well appointed and luxurious as the Genesis did, and the Genesis is much more affordable.
Which is ridiculous because literally, and I'll talk about the G-Wagon more in a future episode, but it's a $200,000 car.
Right. And this is
$200,000 house or G-Wagon.
Now, $65K is not cheap either, but I'm just saying this thing just felt much more modern, cool lines, little glowy bits, clean. Like the G-Wagon still got an analog clock, because I guess that's what old people want.
I'm not a big fan of the analog clock, but the thing is, but I like, does this one have an analog clock?
No.
I don't remember seeing that.
It should not.
It does not.
It does not. No, it doesn't.
Now I'm questioning
the G-Wagon had one. No, but the Genesis did not. That's one of the things.
Okay.
Nice clean lines, little glowing ambient lighting. I'll let you keep going. But the Genesis really felt like, what it felt like? Like retro sci-fi, like 1930s era Buck Rogers stuff.
What did this?
The Genesis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in a good way.
Okay. Well, either way, it's absolutely beautiful. I think the interior, it looks every bit the luxury car, and it has all these standard luxury features. Like this isn't one of those vehicles where even in the base trims, it's kind of sort of luxury and you have to go to the middle or the top to get it. Nope. You start off with leather seats. There's a 14-way power driver's seat, a 12-way power front passenger seat. Front seats are heated and ventilated. There's leather everywhere. Like everything is covered with leather. And in this, I'm not sure if they technically call it white or if it has some cutesy color, but it basically looks white. So there's just this beautifully stunning, comfortable interior, and it's super, super quiet. Now, I know the EVs are quiet, but just everything else. The wind noise, don't hear it. The road noise, because sometimes if you're on like a rough road, you can hear that sort of vibration of things. Don't hear it, which is exactly what a luxury car should be like.
Right.
You're paying to have this quiet, beautiful, well-mannered thing that you're driving. It should be that way no matter the road conditions, no matter the weather conditions, and absolutely it does it. And they have something they call them, it's called ergo motion.
Ergo motion.
Basically, it's massaging front seats, but they're really targeted. And it's,
I have a thing about massaging front seats.
Yeah.
Can I just say, if you're going to put massaging seats in a vehicle, and there's a lot of good reasons for that. My back gets sore. I do like a nice massage. These seats are really nice. The problem is, make it very clear where you turn them on and off. Because I feel like sometimes these things start going and I have no idea what's happening. All of a sudden, what is going on? I don't know where to turn these things off. There's no clear buttons.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little tricky. They're like buried in the infotainment screen, like 12 levels deep. Meanwhile, you're being jabbed in the back and you're,
I can't get the
screen to work. Yes. Speaking of screens, so this one has a 14.5-inch infotainment touchscreen. It's set a little back from the dashboard. It's not right like as forward as many of them are,
right?
Because they have a little spinning controller thing to control things, and I think they're trying to encourage you to use the controller, not so much touch.
Reach for the screen, but because it's so far back, it's hard to touch.
It does, so it does. So
they want you to use a dial, but the problem with mice in cars, which is basically what it is, it's like a mouse.
Well, it's not a mouse. This one's more like
it's
just
attached, but it's
dial.
basically a dial that's like a mouse, like you navigate. The problem with that is it's slower than tapping, and you have to look at the screen while you do it. And I think it's more distracted than touch.
Yeah, I still like to have a full-on touch screen that's close enough that I can reach it, but I don't find this system. Somehow this one isn't frustrating.
But all the luxury cars do this. As you go up market, like all of them have these little dial
and they have some where you can like
Mercedes has it and Lexus has it. It's
I know.
like, I don't know what that's
they
about.
get too fancy pants for their own good.
I agree.
But I do like how the system works. I mean, it was nice. I think the screen is really nice. It looks beautiful.
Super clean, very sci-fi, like
super,
I said.
Yeah. And so driving this thing, this is amazing. So the thing with an EV is all your torque happens now.
Yes.
Right away.
Instantly.
There's no waiting for like torque's like, I'm working on it.
There's no turbo lag or any of that stuff.
No, there's nothing.
No.
There's nothing. You just boom, all your torque happens at once. So 429 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque.
When you want it.
This moves. If you mash that pedal, it really goes. It is aggressive. And it's just so funky driving an EV if you've never driven one, because when you mash the gas pedal, when it's an actual gas pedal, you hear something. Right. You hear the engine, right? Whether it's a whiny little CVT that's in the background going wee, or whether it's this burly engine going whoa, you hear something. You mash the pedal in an EV. You
just go.
You hear nothing and you're just flung back in your seat, right? So
awesome.
it's really fantastic. And this one does another little thing. They have something called a boost mode. It's like a little button on the steering wheel.
Like you need it.
I know, that's like it's not fast enough already. We got it.
Right.
But you push the boost mode and it lasts for 10 seconds. So it's a limited thing. And it gives you an extra 54 horsepower. I'm not doing math. What does that put us? 64, 74, like a 480 something horsepower.
Getting close to 500, which is a lot for a car that's
stupid amount of horsepower. Yeah. But I guess if you were suddenly like, I'm trying to think, when would I want that other than just, this is fun, cool, I'm going to do this. Because
when the guy in the Corvette pulls up next to you. That's when you push it.
I guess.
And he's in a gas bar. And like, see, watch this.
But from a very practical standpoint, if you're in traffic and you're at speed, like on a highway where there's a 65 mile an hour or 75 mile an hour speed limit, and you suddenly need speed to pass because someone's being pokey or you realize you missed your exit, boom, push that button, zoom, you're going to go forward so that you can get across traffic.
I know, but you already got 429 horses in there and 500
like
torque.
You're
just going to you're going to go when you want to go in that car.
Exactly.
And that's what's cool. When you were driving it, I was just like thrown back in the seat. Like it really feels like a performance vehicle. And it's a sedan. But it's great.
It's not a sedan. It's technically a crossover.
Oh, sorry. Then even less.
I know.
Even bigger, technically, right? So it's even bigger. And it still feels fast and nimble.
So, and as far as range, because EVs, range is a big thing, 236 miles.
Yeah.
Which is... the thing is, people always talk...
I like to be closer to 300, honestly.
Well, and see, you're you're going to say, I need more than that. I would have for all the time driving. But in your typical day of driving...
No, you're right.
You are never
you're right.
going to use that range. You're never going to use all of it. You're going to be driving around town and you're never even going to need to plug in until you get back home if you have a level 2 charger installed in your house. If you are out and about, like you're doing a road trip or you're just someplace where you need to charge it back up, 10 to 80% in 18 minutes doing DC fast charging. 18 minutes up to 80%.
That's nice.
And the 10 to 80, the reason that's the number is the way that batteries work and their efficiency and maintaining their integrity. When you go past 80%, it charges more slowly. And that's not a Genesis thing. That's an EV battery thing. That 10 to 80 is your sweet spot. That's when it charges the fastest. So you can get all the way up to 80% in 18 minutes. That's not bad.
Yeah.
And I also there's a front charging port.
Now, what are your thoughts on where ports should be on vehicles?
So the reason I like it on the front is it doesn't matter if you're at your house, right? Because you presumably have had something installed with a cable long enough to reach wherever you need it to reach. But when you use a lot of the charging stations, it depends where you are when you're out there. And some of them, they're very tight. Like they don't feel as wide as a regular parking space, first of all. And you have this thick cable. The cables are very thick that you're trying to wrangle to plug in, which becomes even more difficult if the weather's cold. The hose gets more stiff. The cable gets stiff. So it's even harder to wrangle the cable. And if you have to have it so that you've got to go around one side and plug it in on the quarter panel and you haven't pulled far enough and now you're trying to go closer. And it's just, I feel like when they're on the sides of the vehicle, they're trickier. You have to make sure that you line up the right way when you pull into these spots. If it's on the front, it doesn't matter. You're pulling straight in. It's going to reach the front just as well from the left side as it is from the right side. Even if you back in, still going to reach it just as easily. So
we have that at Logan at the airport near us. The chargers are all on the left side of the spaces near the front.
Yeah.
And my Jeep's charging port, my 4xe, is on the left front side. So if I happen to pull in and the car next to me is already using that one and I got to go on the other side, then I got to back out and pull in backwards. But if the port was on the front of my car, it wouldn't matter to me.
So sounds like such a little thing, but I love it.
It's a big deal.
And the other kind of neat thing as far as charging, so Genesis partnered with Electrify America.
Yep.
And you get 3 years of 30-minute charging for free.
So once you've charged 30 minutes, you're done for 3 years?
Well, it's you at 30-minute sessions. So you can charge for 30-minute sessions as much as you want
for 3 years.
For 3 years. So yeah. So
what's a session? Can I unplug it after 30 and then plug it back in?
I mean, technically, I suppose.
Or is there like a
I don't think it's going to know and be like, it's
kind of like soda refills in theme parks. You got to wait 30 minutes before you fill it again.
I don't think so. No? I think as long as you technically have unplugged.
Ooh, I feel like I could game this. But it's like a parking meter. You got to run back out every 30 minutes and unplug it back in. It's like got to put another coin in the meter.
Running back out. Hey, I got to unplug and plug my
That's
EV
pretty
back
great.
in.
Well, you just mentioned for 18 minutes, you get to 80%. So
right.
if they're superchargers,
30 minutes is actually more than you probably
good.
really, truly need. That'll get you on your way. So I think that's pretty cool. Hey everyone, if you like what you're hearing, then go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe either on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher of choice.
Yeah.
Okay, next EV. Ready?
2 EVs in a row.
2 EVs in a row because
all juiced.
EV is becoming the thing. The 2023 Rivian R1S. Mm-hmm. So Rivian is a new-ish, still new. I'm going to say they're still new.
They feel new. Most people have not seen a Rivian in the wild.
No.
There's a few in our neighborhood, but not many.
Yeah, there's one guy who has the R1T, which is the truck, and I see his truck sometimes.
Now, how can you spot a Rivian easily from the front?
Okay, so it's really funny. And somebody actually mentioned this, and I thought it was the best description ever when I shared something. I think it was on TikTok I shared this. Yep. I shared a picture, and it had the front of the car on it, and I was showing how the front worked. And he said every time he looks in his rearview mirror, it looks like a robot's chasing him because it has this very straight line and these very oval-shaped lights on either side that kind of look like eyes on a cartoon
or like Harry Potter
robot.
glasses that are elongated. Yes. It's like Harry Potter's driving behind
So
you.
it has a very distinct front end that you look at it and either you know that's a Rivian or apparently you think you're.
And they're mostly trucks right now, right?
There's trucks and there's SUVs. We have the SUV, which is the R1S. The truck is the R1T.
The first one was the pickups. Right?
Yes. Yeah. So we have that. And now this is also a luxury vehicle. It's actually a little bit more expensive, $78,000, but it's also much bigger.
Yeah.
Like, whereas the Genesis Electrified GV70 is like the SUV crossover.
Well, when you're looking at electrified trucks too, you're kind of into a expensive zone.
Yeah, but this is SUV. Remember, truck stop, not a truck. So this is 3 rows of seating, room for up to 7 people, very spacious, and it takes a totally different approach. Whereas the Genesis is it feels very refined and very luxurious and very elegant in the styling, just very, very elegant. It's an elegant car. The Rivian takes a much more modern approach. It's very streamlined. It's very clean. There's not an over amount, like a lot of detail.
It doesn't feel as sci-fi. It feels more like
unless you're looking at the front.
Yes, it feels more Spartan and utilitarian.
Yes, but it's still got a luxury feel to
nice.
it. Yeah,
yes.
Like there's neat things like on the back of the front seats. There's like a little hook, so you could hang a jacket if you don't want a jacket to get wrinkled or a purse or whatever. But even above the hook, there's a little USB port. It's like tucked in there. Yep. So there's neat design stuff. It just has a more modern, like of the future look compared to the Genesis.
I like how the Rivians look, interior and out.
You do? You like how it looks?
I used to be an Element driver. I like cars that have a little quirkiness to them, and the Rivian definitely has that quirky feel.
It does. And so availability is limited on everything, including the Genesis. This one is just hard to find. Like there's orders. Genesis is limited to certain states, but it's kind of an EV thing. A lot of them aren't available everywhere. And even if they are available everywhere, you might not be able to buy one right this very second, depending on where you are.
Even at this price points, they're still pretty hot cars.
Yeah, they are really hot cars. So, and this one, being a big SUV, has tons of room. So cargo, in addition to people, you can put 17.6 cubic feet of cargo behind the third row, 46.7 behind the second, or 88.2 if you kick out all the people and just want to fill it full of stuff.
There you go.
So it's definitely got the room to carry people and cargo. And of course, you can decide how you flip down the seats. So if you want to have some people and some cargo, you can do different configurations. So I feel like it's really versatile. And one of the other neat things about this can go off-road. It really can. Like, I didn't get the opportunity to do that while I had it, but there are 5 different drive modes.
But it's built to be capable.
There is an off-road mode, and you really can take this off-road. If you want to go off-road, it can do it. It's extremely capable, which isn't always the case when an SUV says that. Not all of them mean it. Some of them mean a nice little dirt road that you would take to the cabin, but not like there is no road and you're just driving through your own makeshift road.
Well, Rivian grew up with their pickup, which is capable also.
Yeah, the Rivian is also very
the seen that R1T in a lot of off-road events. They were showing it off in various formats.
So it's an extremely capable vehicle. So if you really want to be able to go off-road in your fancy, expensive electric SUV, the Rivian R1S will let you do it. And it has a standard all-wheel drive, but it gets kind of confusing, honestly, breaking down. But there's dual motor all-wheel drive, performance dual motor all-wheel drive, and then quad motor all-wheel drive.
Ooh.
Each one gets a little bit more capability. Each one gets a little bit more horsepower.
Feels like you'd lose range on the quad motors because you're putting all the energy out.
Because you're right. Well, but there's also different batteries, so let's make it more confusing.
Right.
But so at the low end, you've got 600 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. At the high end, 835 horsepower, 908 pound-feet of torque.
That's a lot of horsepower.
Stupid numbers, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter which one you get.
Like Hellcat territory.
Right. It doesn't matter what you get. It's going to be fast. And again, it's an EV. So the minute you touch
you go.
that pedal, you move. So there is like zero hesitation, which is sort of fun in this one because it's big. So you're used to big SUVs that do take a second to get themselves moving, even when they have plenty of power. This one's like, no problem, wham, and you're just flying down the highway.
That's nice. This probably can tow too, right? Because they got
and I forgot to put the tow in here, but you can tow in this.
Nice.
Absolutely, you can tow. So there's also 2 batteries. So in addition to the 18 zillion all-wheel drive configurations, you have a standard range battery that they say is 260 plus, and a long range it's 321.
Ooh, 320. That's nice. So now if you're really, I'm sure it's very expensive, but now if you're really worried about it, if you're like me and have a lot of range anxiety, you can be like, I can drive all the way down to, halfway to New York City from Boston.
Is that how far it is to New York City?
I don't have to do the math. I think it's not, New York's longer than 3 hours, right? It's like 5 hours.
So maybe about halfway. But the other thing that affects that, the thing with range, it's just like driving a car
weather, it's everything else.
With gas, right? Yeah. The weather impacts your range, how heavily weighed down the vehicle is, if you're towing something.
If you're using your boost mode.
If you're using the boost mode in your Genesis, there's a lot that impacts that. So even like when you look at a gas vehicle and you're looking at your EPA ratings and it says 19 miles per gallon, well, 19 in perfectly ideal, everything's right situation. Suddenly it's, you've loaded down your car, you're going to get 16. You're driving like a maniac, smashing the gas, you're going to get 16. You're really gentle, maybe you'll get 20.
Yeah.
So you don't, these are always just guidelines. It gives you a ballpark. So I wouldn't expect these like hard and fast figures.
Sure. That makes sense.
So, yes. For charging, this also does fast charging. You can get 140 miles in 20 minutes at a level 3 DC fast charger.
That's pretty good.
140 miles, 20 minutes. That's enough time. You run inside, you grab yourself some food, you make a bio break.
You got 2 more hours of driving.
You got a couple more hours of driving. And really, that's part of the thing too. Like, you got to stop more often. But ideally, nobody should really be sitting in a car straight without ever getting out for hours.
You got to stretch your legs, wake yourself back up, get a coffee.
Good for you to get out. So if you're it kind of in a way is good because it forces you to get out of the car and move around for a little bit, which isn't a bad thing. There's a 16-inch infotainment screen. It's huge, very easy to reach, very easy to use.
The interior of this car is also really cool.
The only thing is they like this is one of those, let's put everything we can into the infotainment screen.
Yes.
And this was my one beef, and this drove me nuts. The air vents, the controls are inside the infotainment screen. You can see the little louvers for the vents. You cannot move them.
Yeah, so she means like not just like controlling the amount of air blowing out, like actually changing the angle of the vent.
Right. So if you suddenly want to move it, which everyone's like, well, how often do you move that? I guess I'm a weirdo. I move those all the time.
I move them all the time.
Because you're driving along and you're fine. And then all of a sudden the sun is beaming in on your face.
I just don't think you think about it. It's such a subconscious, intuitive action. You reach forward, you move the vent slightly to the left. It's like the little nozzles on the airplane too. You adjust them all the time. Yeah. Like when all of a sudden you reach out and there's nothing there, it's all of a sudden very disconcerting.
Exactly. So so that's kind of, like, it's like, I don't like that. It's a nitpick. Absolutely, it's a nitpick.
It's also one more thing that can break. And do you really need that? I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to say you did it, but I don't know.
What? Why is it one more thing that can break?
Because there's got to be little motors in there to move those things.
Oh, I didn't think about the motors.
There's more parts. Yeah, so, those motors are going to break at some point. It's going to be more expensive to fix the vent. I don't know.
Somebody said to me, but then you're not going to break the louvers off the vent. I'm not
going to break the louvers, but the motor's going to break.
And I'm like, what are you, the Hulk? You're grabbing the vent? like, how hard is it to move the louvers on an air vent?
Right.
And the other fun kind of thing, they have the key. You can use an app to get in and out of your car. You can use a little plastic card, looks like a credit card to get in. You can also use the carabiner key.
The carabiner key was cute.
So it
was
clicks
like a big,
open.
Meaty key.
It's this big meaty key, and it clicks open so you could hook it to a backpack or whatever. And they do have a little wristlet that's a waterproof wristlet. Yes. So if you don't want to have to worry about about, you're going swimming or hiking, you don't want to lose your
I
key.
can Disney Magic Band myself into my car.
You could Disney Magic Band yourself into your car. Hey, wait, did we just drive by a bakery? Of course we didn't. So I was also on a trip this week with a vehicle from Toyota that I will talk about later, but I was in Hawaii. Which is really cool. I mean,
lots of good treats in Hawaii.
Hawaii has lots of good treats, fruit, so much fruit, and it's so good. I eat all the mangoes while I'm there. But they also have something called malasadas, which are technically a Portuguese donut.
Fancy donut.
And think like a little fried donut, little round donut, and then it's rolled in, say, granulated sugar and filled with stuff. So I found this as we were driving along with my partner from the Wheel Bearings podcast, Sam. We drove by this tiny little blue food truck. I don't even think it counts as a food truck. Food mini truck. It was tiny, right?
Yep.
And it said Manuela. It's the Manuela Malasada Company.
Well, I like that. Say that 5 times fast.
I cannot. And I probably
Manuela Malasada.
I think
I can't
Manuela Malasada. So you go up to this little food truck and they make them on the spot. So you do have to wait. So you got to good food takes time.
Fresh, hot, basically donuts.
Oh my God.
It's like the Krispy Kreme of malasadas.
It was so good. And then you go up and you get to pick what you want. So you can buy them I think it was 3 or 6 or 9. You buy them in a little, because they're sort of small-ish. They're not big donuts. They're tinier donuts. But you pick what you want for sugar on the outside, because there's different kinds. And then you pick what you want for fillings on the inside.
Wow. Is there a lot of choices?
There were a ton of choices. There's a giant list. But one of the things I like, they had on the outside, I thought I'm going to try the things. I have no idea what the heck they are.
Of course.
And I said, I think you pronounce it right. It's just Li Hing, which they said is a sweet and sour plum sugar.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah. And it was like a sweet and sour kind of thing. And it's great because, of course, you eat this. It's hot. You A, burn your mouth, and B, get the sugar all over your fingers.
Of course you do.
Which you're required to lick off your fingers.
Fortunately, near the ocean, so you just bounce over there and get wet.
I did not just drive the car with sticky fingers to the ocean. I licked my fingers, which is even better, non-sanitary, and I don't care. Right. It was so good. So I had this on the outside, and we had another one that the other two, I think we just got regular straight up sugar, because I think these are even cinnamon sugar. So you can get all these different things on the outside. But there is this giant list of fillings that you can get on the inside.
Ooh.
So it's like the permutations and combinations.
It's infinite.
Kind of blow your mind a little bit. You sit there and you look at it, you're like,
All right, so what'd you go for filling?
Okay, I chose... Sam did one that had, oh God, what did he do? I think his had peanut butter. No, it was a banana cream filling.
Ooh, I like those.
It was really, really good. Yeah. I had one that had something called, they call it lilikoi, I think.
Oh, you tried all the exotic
which
stuff.
Is a passion. It says lilikoi, and then beside it says, for those of you who don't know, passion fruit. I'm like, that would be me.
Yeah.
So the passion fruit. Then you can also get, I didn't try this one if I'd had more time. They have an ube cheesecake filling, but there's vanilla filling and chocolate filling. There must have been 25 or 30 different fillings that you could get this in.
Wow.
They were good.
Now, what were some of the other ones that you were fighting with yourself? Which one to choose?
Well, I wanted to do the cheesecake one, and I didn't. We did a regular cream filling.
I'm impressed you only got one.
We got a little pack of 3. Okay. To be fair, we got a little pack of 3, and then we ripped them apart when we got back to the hotel that we were staying in, and they were really good. But then I had to drive by this little cart the next day, and the next day.
Did you manage not to stop again?
I did not stop again. I
That's good self-control. That's really good self-control.
From stopping again, because this is really good. It's the kind of thing once you know it's there, if it was really outside your hotel and you were visiting for a week, you'd be like, I'm going to get these every morning. Forget it. Hotel has fancy schmancy breakfast with, buffet and fresh fruit. It's like, no, I'm
making a malasada run.
Yeah, I'm going to go to that little blue cart parked on the side of the road in the dirt, and I'm going to go get a malasada.
Was there a long line where people...
There wasn't a huge line. There were probably the time we were there, the whole time there were at least 3 or 4 people in line and 3 or 4 people waiting, because they literally, I can see the guy with the dough making them as you wait. So you're waiting for him to make each one, fry each one, and fill each one. And it is 110% worth the wait. It was so good.
Oh, sounds great.
And I found out, I looked at their little sign. They aren't just in Hawaii, though.
Is there hope for me to get a malasada?
There is hope. So I don't know where exactly, because it just says states, but they're in Hawaii. They're in Utah, Washington, Montana, California, and South Carolina.
None of those are near me.
Seattle, Washington. Aren't you in Seattle, Washington?
I do go for work to Seattle sometimes.
So I don't know where.
Okay.
I mean, and some of these is just a state. I'm like, Montana, big place. I don't know where in Montana.
All right, Seattle. I do have hope for Seattle.
See, so you have hope for Seattle. So it was, so that was my favorite thing. And we've gotten those. I think it's a place called Leonard's that you and I went to when we were in Hawaii.
Yeah.
That also had
Leonard's is the famous one, or the touristy one. Yeah.
Well, but this felt like there were a nice mix of tourists there and people who clearly live there who were just going for their fix. And I got iced coffee too.
Ooh,
they had really good because it's in Kona, the Kona area, and
with the best coffee in
oh
Hawaii.
My God, I drank so much coffee. I brought home so much coffee.
As you should.
When I opened my luggage,
I was getting excited going through the coffee.
Yeah, I opened my luggage and it's just like coffee. That's all you smell.
Did your luggage get searched?
No, it didn't, because it's because a lot of the time when you pack coffee, I don't know what it is.
I think it's because it helps. I've heard a rumor. The thing I've heard, which may or may not be true, is that because coffee masks dogs being able to smell drugs.
But like if you're in an airport, well, I'm not trying to mask the smell of drugs.
No, I know, but
let's clarify. No drugs are coming back.
And then they search your bag because that could be.
Well, no, but I guess maybe.
I don't know. That's what I heard. I could be wrong. Most of the time, write us in. Let us know.
Or maybe the folks in the Hawaii in Kona were like, "Look, we see 100 bags of coffee go through here every day. We know what coffee looks like.
They've adjusted their scanners, so
move along. We're not stopping everybody because everybody would have to stop if they actually did it for coffee. No, but like malasadas and coffee and lots of fruit."
Thanks for listening to The Road Reflected. To follow more of Nicole Wakeland's adventures, head on over to NicoleWakeland.com. There you'll find links to her social media from TikTok to Twitter, as well as her work across a wide range of media outlets. Until next time, keep it shiny side up.